So once again, we're reading from Pranic, Living Unveiled, The New Way of Nourishment by yours truly. And today we start on a chapter called Perpetual Protein Programming. Now at the beginning of this chapter, we have a quote from one of my good friends, Latricia Baker. Shout out to Latricia out there in New York, New York. Latricia says, "So after man and woman, or humankind, was created, it was good. It was functioning, just as it was created. But then imagine inserting something into that, ingesting something. You kind of are throwing off a balance that was already functional. And when you ingest something, now something has to change because, oh wait, it has to be processed. Oh wait, this also has enzymes and bacteria and vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That it's like, okay, does your body really need that though? Because what's going to happen is it's going to come out as waste." And that's a quote from Latricia Baker. Perpetual Protein Programming. One of my friends once told me, sometimes you have to let go of your rigidity to get into your infinity. This quote has stuck with me because it speaks to a profound truth. The way of death is rigid and stiff, while the way of the living is supple and flexible. I remember hearing that from the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Being open to change and letting go of our perceptions can be one of the most challenging things we face. Yet, it is essential to tapping in to our full potential. For a long time, I was so focused on finding the perfect nutrition or the ideal balance of vitamins and minerals to sustain my body. I was caught up in a belief that my physical health depended entirely on what I consumed. Luckily, I was never actually a nutritionist, or this journey would have been a lot harder. Back in the days when I worked out at a local boxing gym, I was deeply entrenched in a protein programming. I genuinely believed that protein was essential for survival. I would cram my body with dead chickens and thick whey protein shakes before even leaving the house in the morning. It was the norm for me and for so many others who were conditioned to think that animal protein was the cornerstone of a healthy diet. If you think I'm exaggerating, you haven't met my family. There are many people on this earth who truly believe they will perish without consuming protein from dead animal corpses. It is a sad reality, one that perpetuates the cycle of needless slaughter and the exploitation of sentient beings. At the time, I thought I was doing pretty well for myself, even though my health was slowly deteriorating, particularly in terms of my gut-brain balance. It wasn't until much later that I would see the light in all of the lunacy. Through meditation and spending time with the Burmese monks, I began to understand that there is one thing that unites us all: our breath. We are all breatharians because we all breathe. And through our breath, we are connected to the source of all life. I had to be willing to let go of so many beliefs and concepts to embrace my innate ability as a pranic being, to live and thrive on the nourishing and sustaining power of the breath, chi, and cosmic light. Let's address the idea of protein for a moment. I can only imagine where this idea started, where the fear of not having enough of it started, where the belief that we must consume dead bodies to receive it started. I can only imagine the game of telephone that has passed this idea from one person to another. I remember watching a documentary called The Game Changers on Netflix. It is a film with Arnold Schwarzenegger and other notable figures advocating for a plant-based diet. I witnessed a world record-holding strongman named Patrick Babomian carrying several people on his back. The power lifter was asked how he could get as strong as an ox without eating any meat. His answer was, "Have you ever seen an ox eat meat?" This is coming from a man who was able to carry 1,200 pounds, 1,200 plus pounds on his back over a distance of more than 30 feet. And he consumes an all-vegan diet. People eat meat and think they will become as strong as an ox, forgetting that the ox eats grass. That's a quote by Pino Caruso. When you go a bit deeper, you find that even the plants are receiving very vital elements from the sun. These are elements we can draw from as well, through a kind of human photosynthesis. And when you go even deeper down the rabbit hole, you come to understand how the body itself can create its own proteins. This protein programming and the broader ideology that food is the sole source of nourishment continue to infiltrate our world because people are often willing or unwilling to change. They cling to old ideas, resist new perspectives, and struggle to admit that we could be wrong. I was the same, and it's a journey I understand deeply. Even with the Pranic lifestyle, I strive to keep an open mind. This openness allows me to have compassion for others who are still creating their own karmas, bound by the same limiting beliefs I once held. The cycle is as old as society itself. We fall into the ideology of lack and limitation, convinced that we need to fill our bodies with food to survive. We buy into the philosophy that our well-being depends on constant consumption. We work dead-end jobs to earn the money needed to keep buying the food, believing it will sustain us so that we can keep working those dead-end jobs. In the process, we sacrifice our health for the fleeting attainment of pleasures, perpetuating a cycle that seems endless. But there is a way out. By letting go of rigidity, by embracing flexibility and openness, we can break free from this cycle. We can discover new ways of living, new sources of nourishment, and a deeper connection to the life force that sustains us all. This is the path to infinity, the journey toward our true potential. And here's a quote by one of my friends, Camille Deloy. Shout out to Camille. This thing in the Bible, like they say Adam and Eve went to the paradise and they eat something and afterwards it was not paradise anymore. You know, that's really like a story I still question. It's like, okay, when you eat and then you're not in paradise anymore. And I really feel that when I stop eating, I go back to paradise. Really. If you are dry fasting, you are really free. When you have really nothing to do, like it's total freedom. And we don't need food. We don't need anything. We are already superheroes, you know? We just have to find a way back to this. Camille Deloy. The Paradise Perception. For some, being surrounded by food can evoke a sense of bliss and joy. The smells, the tastes, the social rituals around eating can create a temporary paradise. However, for others, true paradise lies not in the consumption of food, but in the detachment from it and the pleasures that come with that freedom. While food has many attractive qualities, there are even greater rewards in letting go of it altogether. It reminds me of a conversation I once had with an Italian nun about celibacy. Curious, I asked her, what was so attractive about abstaining from sexual intimacy? She shook her head with a knowing smile and said, Jerome, people just have no idea what they're missing. Shout out to Kemachari, the Italian nun that I'm referring to here. One of my friends. Her words resonated with me, especially as I delved deeper into the practice of pranic living. Take, for example, the experience of dry fasting. This practice can bring about a euphoric state that feels like paradise. It's a reminder that the power to reach a state of bliss lies within ourselves. We just need to be willing to surrender and let go. At first, this detachment can be challenging. Our minds and bodies are conditioned to seek out the comforts of food, often as a way to cope with emotions or stress. But the ultimate payoff is worth it. It was actually the contrasting effects of being with and without food that helped move me along on this path. The difference in my mood, my energy, and overall state of being were undeniable. My feeling state with food and my mood without food were incomparable. When you really observe these two states, they reveal many insights. Look around and you'll notice how often we eat without awareness. We eat watching TV while eating. We talk while eating. We walk while eating. And some of us even drive while eating. I was guilty of it all as well. The short-term gratification of mindless eating is an ephemeral sensation. The fast consumption of fast food leads to quick reactions and fast emotions. It is no surprise when we don't reach the paradise we were hoping for. But a paradise outside of the body is nothing compared to the paradise within. Health truly is wealth on this journey. The frequency of freedom is found in a regulated nervous system. The vibration of peace is achieved through a balanced gut-brain connection. Homeostasis, that state of perfect equilibrium, is one of the loveliest places you can experience. Once you truly feel the difference, you may not want to go back. You feel more powerful without the pizza. You feel more serenity without the Subway sandwiches. You feel more infinite without the indigestion. The allure of food fades in comparison to the lasting peace and clarity that come from living a pranic lifestyle. The rewards of detachment are not just about physical health. They are about spiritual liberation and mental clarity. When we let go of our attachment to food, we open ourselves to a greater connection with the life force that sustains us all. We discover that true bliss is not found in what we consume, but in what we release. We return to paradise just like Adam and Eve. I remember during a fast when I was in Costa Rica, there was a time where I was on this street in Puerto Viejo. Pura vida to my friends at Costa Rica. This was when I was living in a hostel. I was doing long days in the natural state. I remember just being in the middle of the street, standing in one spot. I played my flute for what felt like 2 hours. You could also call me a flutarian. I just learned that the other day. I'm a flutarian. I was so content and so content to just stand there, with people passing me by and smiling. Children passed me by. Dogs passed me by. Cars passed me by. It was just so peaceful. I didn't need anything but the breath. As they say in Costa Rica, pura vida, which means pure life. I was truly in paradise. When you get to a certain point in a fast, you shift into a state where you realize you are already complete. Even though you have nothing to eat, you're complete. You don't need to do anything, be anyone, chase anything, or go anywhere. Right where you are is perfect. Who you are is perfect. What you are is perfect. This is true paradise. It requires no substance other than your own body. It requires no test other than your own trust. It requires no knowledge other than your own inner knowing. It requires no drug other than your own design. If everyone could feel it just once in their lives, the world would be so different. We would all be in paradise together. As I stood there, flute in hand, time seemed to dissolve. The usual rush of thoughts and concerns that occupy the mind faded into the background, replaced by an overwhelming sense of stillness. It was as if the breath itself was playing the flute. Each note a celebration of life. Oh, there's the birds. As if on cue, the birds sharing their music. Each note a celebration of life. Each pause a moment of perfect silence. The music wasn't just a sound. It was a state of being, a connection to something much larger than myself. The people who passed by, the children with their innocent curiosity, the dogs with their carefree joy, and even the cars that rumbled along all became part of this serene tapestry. I could see them. I could hear them. I could feel them. But there was no need to interact. Just being in that space, sharing that moment, was more than enough. There was a silent understanding that we were all part of the same flow of life, connected by something invisible, yet undeniable. This experience taught me that paradise is not a place that you find. It is a state you embody. It is a realization that the peace and fulfillment we seek externally is already within us. The fast was simply a tool, a means of stripping away the layers of distraction and desire that usually cloud this truth. Once those layers were gone, what remained was pure and unblemished, a deep, abiding sense of completeness. In this state, you realize that everything you've ever needed has always been within reach. Not outside, but inside. The breath becomes your sustenance. The present moment becomes your playground. You are no longer a seeker of experiences, but a witness to the unfolding of life. You are no longer chasing after fleeting pleasures, but resting in an enduring joy that arises from simply being. This is what it means to experience life in its most unadulterated form. It is a kind of freedom that cannot be bought or sold, a paradise that cannot be built or destroyed. It is the recognition that the journey to fulfillment is not a journey outward, but a journey inward, back to the source of all that is. And in that moment, standing in the middle of a street in Puerto Viejo, playing my flute and breathing deeply, I found myself exactly where I was meant to be, at peace, in paradise, complete. And at the end, we have a quote here from Athena Starseed. Athena says, "We are all pranic beings because we live on cosmic light. And yet, some of the pranic breatharians are addicted to food and water. And some of the pranic breatharians have kicked the addiction." What are we made of? Hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon. That's all in the air. So if I'm giving what I am, I'm exchanging what I am. I don't need a false sense of security. Just like I don't need a religion to know I'm one with God. I used to have a Beamer, a Mercedes, a 2-car garage, a jacuzzi, a pool, 2 guest houses, and a gated property. And I wasn't happy. I was achieved, but I wasn't happy. I would walk my baby around the block, smell roses, and work with this yogi. I'd read about saints who sat in samadhi and were in bliss. And I said to myself, what are they doing to feel that bliss when they are doing nothing? How can they feel so happy doing nothing? Athena Starseed. The most advanced technology. The human body is an incredible machine, but most people only get out of that machine what their mind allows them to. Rich Froning Jr. In this modern age, we humans have had to adapt to the function. We have had to adapt to function around the very technology we created out of convenience. You can imagine how our Paleolithic ancestors would have been built so that they could go a long time without eating, migrating from place to place for long distances. They had to have been built for energy conservation. Our body structure must have been on another level back then. Fast forward to now, where we seem to have an overabundance of food. At least where I am from, here in the States, you find food of all kinds and from all countries. Food that doesn't even grow and that isn't natural to the environment. We can have it easily accessible at our fingertips. With applications on our smartphones like DoorDash, I used to work for DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. We can have our deluxe dinners delivered anytime we want. We have had to adapt to this as well. We human beings are phenomenal at adaptation. I remember watching a documentary that blew me away. In this film, I witnessed the men from a village of people in the jungle who would go out and fetch honey. They did this while the women and children waited behind. The men made hatchets to dig into and climb up large trees. These trees were huge, as well as huge satchels and a rope system to shimmy and send down the honeycomb after it was retrieved. These men would climb so high that a slip or a fall would mean certain death. They then proceeded to retrieve the honeycomb and send it down to their families. all while being stung repeatedly by angry bees. They did this without gloves, without suits, and without even facial protection. What was even more fascinating was the women and children eating the honeycomb in a relaxed manner while being swarmed by bees, sometimes even ingesting a bee or two that slipped past. This clearly showed the resilience of our bodies and a test of our mental fortitude. Perhaps you have heard of a TV show called My Strange Addiction. The show has had several seasons and displays people engaging in all kinds of behavior, from eating glass to toilet paper to bricks and even bathroom cleanser. What the human body can adapt to is nothing short of astounding. So now that we know we have this capacity for adaptation, this is where pranic living comes in. Because if we can adapt to overconsumption, then we can surely adapt to being free from it entirely. It is simply another form of adaptation. For most people, the mere idea sounds unprecedented. Pranic living, this ancient practice of Inedia, is now in the mainstream media. To eat very little or not at all. To drink very little or not at all. But what if I told you that this is not even half of what we are capable of? We continue looking for the best technology, the latest Tesla, the latest headphones, the latest iPhones. But what if I told you that you already have the most advanced technology at your fingertips? Of course, I'm referring to your own body and mind. And here's a quote by my friend Ariana Villegas. Ariana says, "Imagine if someone gifted you the most awesome, expensive product or gift in the whole wide world. You would want to learn how to use every part of it, right?" And I just look at that as our bodies. Because if you can master every aspect of your body and learn how to control your breath, learn how to circulate energy in different ways that you don't need anything else, what and who could stop you? Ariana Villegas. We spend so much money and so much time learning how to use external tools. But what about mastering ourselves? By learning how to strengthen our minds, manage our emotions, and optimize our physical health, we can become autonomous beings with limitless potential. Imagine being in complete harmony with your thoughts and actions, feeling confident and empowered in any situation. With self-mastery, there is no challenge too great, no obstacle too difficult to overcome. Why wait to be given what you already have? You are the most advanced technology there is. As we continue to advance in technology, we must also remember the incredible potential that lies within us. Our bodies, honed by millennia of evolution, are capable of so much more than we often realize. We have adapted to survive in harsh conditions, to endure scarcity, and to thrive in abundance. Now, in an age of excess, we have the opportunity to reclaim our natural state of balance and harmony. Pranic living is not just about abstaining from food. It's about embracing a new way of being. It's about reconnecting with the innate intelligence of our bodies, tapping into the limitless energy that surrounds us. It's about realizing that we are not dependent on external sources of nourishment, but are capable of sustaining ourselves from within. This journey of self-discovery and self-mastery is not just for the select. It is a path that anyone can walk. It is not for the chosen few. but for the few who choose. It requires a willingness to let go of old beliefs and habits, and an openness to explore new possibilities. It challenges us to slow down, to listen to our bodies, and to trust our innate wisdom. It encourages us to move beyond the limitations of our physical senses and to explore the deeper dimensions of our existence. Through this practice, we can discover a state of inner peace and fulfillment that is not dependent on external circumstances. So as we navigate this modern world with all its advancements and distractions, let us also remember to honor the ancient wisdom that resides within us. Let us embrace the possibilities of pranic living, not as a radical departure from our current way of life, but as a return to our true nature. Here's a quote by Ray Mayor, author of the book A Year Without Food. Some individuals go up to Breatharian level 4 even. They don't consume food and don't drink. It doesn't mean that they have to. It means that they're checking. Sort of like Neo in the Matrix. He enters the Matrix and he checks his limitations and understanding. Okay, I can jump further than what I believe that I could jump. I'm not actually breathing air right now, am I? So in this dream of illusion, there are certain things that we can do that are very, very different. And they begin with our belief about our body. Ray Mayor. Reclaiming your power. On the pranic journey, you are becoming more enlightened. Now, what do we mean when we say enlightened? Well, you are becoming more light. Meaning, you are becoming less dense, less heavy, less encumbered, less burdened. Back when I used to eat solids, I would eat large quantities, big portions, fit for a family feast. And I'm not joking. I became very familiar with feeling this heaviness in my stomach. In this journey, you no longer have that heaviness. You remember what it's like, but it becomes like a vague memory. You start to take your time with things. You don't feel in such a rush. You don't feel so compelled to strain yourself and do things so quickly. Even though you are able to produce and get many things done, they get done in their own perfect timing. Nature itself does not rush. So why should we? It used to be that when I would stretch, it would be for a short period. But in the more pranic state, you can be really nourished by a good stretch. You can take your time and stretch it out. You can feel so much from the smallest things. Things like sunrise, like birds chirping, and bees humming. You are cultivating a deeper relationship with the universe. You become a better energy worker and develop a relationship with it. You start to gain a different level of awareness. Since all your energy isn't being diverted towards digestion, you receive new insights. Things flow through you. You have more focus that can be directed. It is like a magnifying glass that can harness the sun's light and burn a hole through paper. The same magnifying glass would do nothing if the light was moved and scattered all around. You realize there is so much in the power of choice. The choice to eat or not to eat. The choice to drink or not to drink. If I had heard about this lifestyle 10 years ago, I would have never believed it. But it's a wonderful revelation to know that you actually do have the choice. Because so many people feel that they don't have an option, that we must eat for survival all the days of our life. That we cannot be content unless our bellies are full. I remember being with a Jamaican family. I'm part Jamaican. And this family, they had a motto. They said, eat till you belch. That was their motto. They said, eat till you belch. Meaning eat till you burp. Like if you don't belch, if you don't burp, you're not done. Keep eating. Keep going. Keep going. And this was a family that when I was really young, when I was, very young, they told me, don't you leave that table. Don't you get up until you lick that plate clean. They said, lick that plate clean. I said, wow. Looking back on it now, I'm like, wow. Here's a quote by Morpheus from The Matrix. I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. This journey is about reclaiming your power, understanding you are not a slave to your cravings or your past habits. As you lighten up, you also lighten your spirit, becoming more in tune with the subtle energies around you. The more you release the unnecessary weight and waste in the body, both physically and mentally, the more you begin to realize the freedom that lies in simplicity. It's like peeling away layers of an onion, each layer bringing you closer to your core, to your true essence. It may even bring you to tears. The noise, the clutter, and the distractions of life start to fade away, leaving behind a serene sense of clarity. You begin to see things as they are, not clouded by desires or attachments. This clarity brings with it a profound peace, a stillness that nourishes you more than any meal ever could. The lightness you feel isn't just in your body, it is in your mind and your spirit as well. Your thoughts become lighter, more positive, your emotions more stable. You realize that true nourishment doesn't come from external sources, but from within. It is a profound shift in perspective that changes the way you interact with the world. You are now seeing food for what it really is, a habit, not a necessity. And with that understanding comes an incredible sense of liberation, the power to choose how you nourish yourself, not just physically, but spiritually, becomes the foundation of your new life. This is the essence of pranic living, being in joy, being in tune, and being empowered. A lot of people think of not eating as deprivation and starvation. Pranic living flips this assumption on its head because you are raising vibration. As you progress, you now find that this lightness begins to permeate all aspects of your life. Your relationships become more harmonious, your work becomes more fulfilling, and your daily life more exuberant. It is like you have tapped into a wellspring of energy that was always there, just waiting for you to access it. Access granted. And once you do, you realize that it will always be there for you. Here's a quote at the end of this chapter by my brother Benjamin Saunders. Shout out to Ben. Benjamin says, when you are full of purpose, when your life is full of fulfillment, you just don't need anything. And science will never be able to explain that. You know, when we were kids, think about it. We played all day. We weren't thinking about food. So why can't we be that way now? It dawned on me. I was like, wait a minute. I'm eating less, but my body is performing at a level I've never seen. So that kind of started to get me down this path again. I was doing almost 20 pull-ups in one go. these ideas would come to my mind. Or just seeing a bird land on my car and look at me for a minute. We just share that moment, and my eyes would well up with tears. It's like this is our state when we are not numbed out by too much, whatever that may be. Benjamin Saunders. Spreading your wings. Until you spread your wings, you will have no idea how far you can fly. Author unknown. Imagine an eagle, a powerful, majestic creature that soars effortlessly through the sky, riding the currents of the wind with grace and precision. The eagle embodies freedom, strength, and a sharpness of vision that allows it to see far beyond the horizon. Its wingspan allows it to reach heights unimaginable to us humans, symbolizing a boundless existence. Now imagine that same eagle living the life of a penguin. Picture it waddling around on land, confined to the ground, unable to fly freely. The eagle, with all its potential, is now reduced to a life that is completely contrary to its very nature. It's an image that feels absurd, even tragic, because we know that the eagle was meant to soar, not to shuffle along the earth. Yet this is precisely the kind of existence many of us have settled for with our own bodies and lives. We too are capable of soaring. We possess these incredible vessels, our bodies and minds, that have the potential to do extraordinary things. We can reach heights of consciousness, health, and vitality that we often can't even begin to imagine. But instead, many of us choose to live like penguins, bound by the limitations we impose on ourselves. We get caught up in our minds, in the stories we tell ourselves about what we can and cannot do. We convince ourselves that we are bound by certain needs and habits, that we must follow a specific path dictated by societal norms. But what if we could let go of these self-imposed limitations? What if we could surrender to the flow of life and awaken our dormant abilities? Much like the eagle taking flight after years of walking on the ground. This is where the Breatharian journey and Pranic living come in. It is about rediscovering our inherent ability to live lightly, to transcend the physical constraints we've accepted as truth, and to reconnect with the boundless energy that surrounds and sustains us. With Pranic living, we begin to spread our wings again. We start to realize that life is not meant to be a constant struggle for survival, but a journey of exploration and freedom. We gradually ascend to a life that feels almost magical, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the impossible starts to seem possible. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. That's a quote by Jimmy Johnson. Of course, it is not all sunshine and rainbows every day, but even on cloudy days, you begin to see further than you ever did before. You gain a new perspective, a broader view of your life and circumstances. This new vantage point, this bird's eye view, allows you to see beyond the immediate and the mundane. You start to perceive the interconnectedness of all things, the flow of energy that moves through life, and your place within it. From this elevated mindset, you can let go of the penguin perspective, one that is grounded in fear, doubt, and limitation, and embrace your inner eagle, the eagle which knows that the sky is not the limit, but just the beginning. Sooner or later, you find yourself truly soaring. You begin to trust in the process, to trust in yourself, and to embrace the freedom that comes with letting go. You realize that there is no limit to what you are exploring. You are no longer confined to the ground, bound by the heavy chains of outdated beliefs and habits. Instead, you are gliding on the winds of possibility, discovering new heights and experiencing life in a way that is both exhilarating and deeply fulfilling. Perhaps you have heard of the book Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach. It's a short story about a seagull named Jonathan who isn't satisfied with the ordinary life of just flying around looking for food like the other seagulls. He is passionate about flying and wants to perfect his skills, even though the rest of the flock thinks he is wasting his time. They don't understand why he pushes himself to fly higher and faster when they only care about survival. Jonathan's determination to master the art of flying eventually leads him to discover a higher purpose and a new way of living, focused on freedom and self-discovery. He even meets other seagulls who share his passion and learn that life is more than just surviving. It is about reaching your full potential and pursuing what you truly love. And I also want to give an honorable mention to a recent movie called The Wild Robot. It's a movie I've seen in theaters recently. Phenomenal film. And it was narrated by, what's her name? I'm forgetting her name now. But it was a phenomenal film, The Wild Robot. And darn, I'm forgetting her name. She was also in the Black Panther. Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita, yes. It was narrated by Lupita Nyong'o. She was in there, and some other great actors were in there narrating voices. And oh man, The Wild Robot. It just showed how it doesn't matter where you started. You can change your programming at any time. You don't have to remain the same. You can change. And that was the lesson, or one of the main lessons I got from The Wild Robot, where she was rewriting her programming and becoming something different that even the manufacturers didn't know was possible. So shout out to The Wild Robot. Definitely check out that movie. I recommend it highly. This is what the Breatharian journey offers. A life where you are far more than what you yourself as a being. A life where you are far more than what you consume, what you do, or what you have been told you must be. In this state, you no longer see yourself as a being that is limited by physical needs and societal expectations. You see yourself as an eagle with the power to soar above the mundane and see the world in all of its vastness and beauty. Once you have tasted that freedom, you'll find it hard to go back to the life of a penguin. You'll want to keep flying, to keep exploring, and to keep discovering just how far you can go. Here's a quote by Julie Bailey, also known as Juicing Jules, from the Raw Vegan family. Julie says, "The more we stay clean and clear, the more we have endless premonitions, and the more we recognize the magic and the power that we have in our minds. You could have superhuman powers. Superhuman powers, you could talk with your angels. You could connect with the universe. You can get everything you want, manifest everything you want. I realize all of these things come from your diet and what you choose to put in your mouth. Juicing Jules. Shout out to Julie. Unlocking your superpowers. I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, splitting my time between both of my parents after they divorced when I was very young. My memories from those early years were fragmented. But one season, during a visit to my father's house, I decided to explore my old room. I hadn't been there in years, yet everything was exactly as I had left it. The clothes were still in the drawers, notebooks filled with my scribbles, untouched video games, I had a lot of them, and anime DVDs gathering dust. As I sifted through the relics of my childhood, one series caught my attention, an anime called Darker Than Black. At the time, I had no idea the effect this rewatch would have on me. The show captivated me with its complex themes and portrayal of sacrifice. It planted a seed in my mind, the idea that within each of us lies untapped potential. Superpowers, if you will, that can only be unlocked through sacrifice. Sacrifice. It is a word that often triggers resistance. We instinctively cling to what we have, fearing the loss of comfort or security. But in reality, sacrifice is not about losing something. It is about gaining something greater. What do you desire most in your life? Whether it's better health, inner peace, or a sense of purpose, there's often something you must relinquish to receive it. This concept became even more apparent to me after spending time with monks and nuns from Myanmar. They spoke of detachment power, the strength one gains by letting go of certain attachments. At first, this idea seemed super foreign to me. But the more I practiced it, the more I understood its transformative potential. Detachment, I realized, doesn't mean owning nothing. It means that nothing owns you. In Darker Than Black, the anime series, characters known as contractors gained extraordinary abilities after a mysterious cosmic event. These powers ranged from telekinesis and teleportation to controlling gravity or phasing through solid matter. However, each power came with a cost. A sacrifice that had to be paid each time the ability was used. For one character, the cost was breaking his own fingers to control gravity. Another had to consume flowers to make things explode with his mind. These sacrifices, though painful, were the price of their superhuman capabilities. This notion of sacrifice resonated deeply with me as I embarked on the pranic living journey. I began to see parallels between the anime's contractors and my own life. I realized that to unlock my superpowers, my clarity, my peace, my focus, I may need to make a significant sacrifice. For me, it was the act of going without solid food for 3 months, relying solely on liquids and fasting. It was a challenging decision, but the rewards were undeniable. As I continued this lifestyle, I discovered that my so-called superpowers were not only real, but also incredibly potent. My mind became sharper, my thoughts became clearer, and my sense of peace more profound than ever before. The heaviness I once felt after large meals was replaced with a lightness that permeated every aspect of my being. I was no longer weighed down by the physical and emotional burdens that had previously consumed me. Sacrifice, I learned, is not about deprivation. It's about liberation. By letting go of what no longer serves us, we make room for something far greater. The monks and nuns of Myanmar taught me that true power comes from within, and it's only through detachment that we can access it. This lifestyle isn't for everyone, and I'm not suggesting that everyone should simply stop eating to unlock their potential. But I do believe that each of us has a unique sacrifice to make, a specific attachment to relinquish, that will open a door to our own superpowers. It might be letting go of unhealthy relationships, shedding limiting beliefs, or releasing the need for external validation. Whatever it is, the key is to recognize what is holding you back and have the courage to let go. The rewards of sacrifice are profound. My sleep has improved, my health became better than ever, and my energy levels were through the roof. But the most significant change was in my mindset. I no longer felt bound by the constraints that once dictated my life. Instead, feeling empowered by the knowledge that I have the ability to choose my own path, to shape my own destiny through the power of detachment and sacrifice. We all have the potential to become more than what we are. To tap into our inner strength, we must be willing to make sacrifices, whether they be big or small. These sacrifices are not losses, but investments in our future selves. They are the price we pay to unlock the superpowers that lie dormant within us. Once we have made that investment, the returns are limitless. So ask yourself, what are you willing to give up to gain everything you desire? What sacrifice would unlock your superpowers? Whatever it is, I encourage you to embrace it. Pay the cost to be the boss of your life, and in doing so, discover a new level of freedom, fulfillment, and power that you never imagined possible. And we'll go ahead and we'll take a pause there. We'll stop there. And I trust that you enjoyed today's reading. As we've been proceeding in this book here, folks have been asking me to read my book, Pranic Living Unveiled, The New Way of Nourishment. It's available now on Amazon in Kindle form, digital form, and also physical book form. And it's also available free in PDF form for those on Patreon. So we have a website for you. That website is called patreon.com/Pranic Path for all things pranic living, the energy that's giving, not just fasting and things that are longer lasting, but the questions that people are asking when it comes to breatharianism and pranic living. Once again, that website for you is patreon.com/Pranic Path, with numerous audios, videos for your visual and auditory pleasure, as well as numerous books and PDFs for your reading pleasure. Thank you so much. It is always a treasure to be here with you. This has been Jerome Shaw. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Keep the grateful, thankful spirit, and may the rest of your life and the breath of your life be the best of your life, my friend. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your moments. Enjoy your life. Take care.